My fellow advocates, now here is something that I want you to think about. I want you to think about your current habits. Also, along with that, I want you to think about if you are in a place right now where you are trying to develop new habits. Here's my question to you. What is it about those habits that we want to engage in them so much? What is the driving force? Why are we engaging in our current habits and why do we want to develop new habits? Now, I feel like one of the answers, at least one of them, is because of the rewards. We want to reap the benefits. If you think about it, the reason why we want to develop good habits, if we look at health and wellness, why we want to be better in that area. So the habits that we're trying to engage in is that we're trying to eat better, we're trying to be more active. If we want to grow spiritually, we think about the end game. We think about the results as to why we should grow spiritually. When it comes to our finances, we think about being better in that area as well. We want to get our money up. We want to pile money up. We want to be better so we can get to financial freedom, perhaps. So we engage in certain habits where we can get to that point. And that's all in well. All of us are striving to develop good habits. Now, here's something I want to tell you. Many of us probably haven't thought about this. As we want to develop good habits where we can get great results, great rewards, here's sort of a revelation for you. Some of the bad habits that we engage in bring us rewards as well. If you think about it, think about a person who smokes cigarettes, who's a smoker. Why do they smoke cigarettes? Why is that a habit to them? It's because of the feeling that they get. I've heard people refer to it as getting like, their nicotine fit in a sense. And what does that do to smokers? Maybe it's a stress relief. Maybe it makes them feel good. Along with that, you got people who overconsume alcoholic beverages, alcoholics. Why do they do that? They love the feeling. They love to feel inebriated. And unfortunately, to some, that is a reward. Now, here is something that I can relate to personally. Why do people dwell in the comfort zone? Because they love the feeling of the familiar. That's a reward to them as well. As I mentioned before, engaging in good habits would get us great rewards. And unfortunately, engaging in some of these bad habits will get rewards as well. But what is the common denominator in this? It's the reward. All we want is the reward. As I mentioned, bad habits bring us rewards as well. But the rewards that we receive from some of these bad habits, we can get the same rewards if we develop good habits as well. And that's what I want to encourage you to do in this video. Of course, we got to get rid of the bad habits and we have to develop good habits. So that's what we're going to talk about on this episode of the Growth Times Infinity podcast as we continue the series, Our Habitual Ways, which is inspired by the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. So let's grow and let's go. Now let's get back into this book. I had kind of been away from this series for a while because, I had my previous episode. I definitely want to encourage you to check that out. Shout out to Latoya Haynes Piper. We had a great conversation in the last video. Once again, I want to encourage you to go check that out. So now, with that being said, let's get back to this series. Let's talk about Atomic Habits. Let's get back into the book. We are picking back up. We are in chapter 3. Go check out the previous video of this series where we begin discussing chapter 3 and we talk about the feedback loop. And that's what we're going to continue to talk about in this video. We're going to go a little bit more in depth into the feedback loop. We're going to talk about our habits, right? And how they can be broken down into the feedback loop that involves 4 steps. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. We're going to talk about these 4 steps that is connected to the feedback loop. And the first step that I want to share with you is the cue. The cue, according to James Clear, it's the habit that gets us the reward. This is what we see. This is what we envision. This is the habit that we want to develop. And when it comes to that, if we want to develop good habits, we have a pretty good idea of what we need to do to develop these good habits. We have a pretty good idea of what is required. We know what needs to be done. So it ain't nothing to it but to do it. But it all starts with the cue. It all starts with that thing. It all starts with that habit. It all starts with what we envision. So that is the first step in regards to the feedback loop and how that works. So it's the cue. The second step is the craving. And it's all about what motivates us, because James Clear, he mentioned in the book, is that the craving is the motivational force behind every habit. So what drives us? What encourages us? Why do we have this desire to develop this new habit, and why we want to engage in this good habit? That's where the craving comes in. What is our why? That is very important when it comes to accomplishing goals and developing new habits, and why we do what we do. So why do we have a desire to do it? Why are we so passionate about developing this good habit? That's where the craving comes in. And that is the second step. The third step is the response. It's all about action. And according to James Clear, once again, the response is the actual habit that you perform, which can take the form of a thought or an action. We got to be all about that action, boss. It's time to put in that work. It's time to put in that effort. That's where the response come in. We got to get this thing rolling. We got to get it in motion. We got to get it going. That's what the response. That's the third step. And the fourth step in regards to the feedback loop is the reward. We talked about the reward at the beginning of this video. And according to James Clear, once again, it's the end goal of every habit. This is what it's all about. This is the reason why we are developing this good habit. This is the pinnacle. This is why it's all worth it, right? And as I mentioned before, those 4 steps, they just keep going and going. It goes in a loop. That's what the feedback loop is all about. So you got cue, you got the craving, you got the response, and you got the reward. And it just starts over again, because that's what habits all about, right? So you get the reward. It doesn't stop there. And that's what I always like to talk about. That's one of my jams. That's one of the things that I love talking about. It's not only about attaining, but it's also about sustaining. So we don't want to just get it. We want to keep it going. We want to keep growing. We want to keep going. So that's why that I can really just relate to this particular topic. That's why it resonates with me. It's a loop. It goes on and on and on and on. Cue, craving, response, reward, and it starts back over at the cue, right? So we got to keep it going. So it's like we don't want to get back into those bad habits. We got to keep those good habits going. We don't want to be a smoker anymore. We want to be a non-smoker. That feeling that we get from smoking, that so-called nicotine fit, some people may refer to, releasing stress, as we would say, releasing stress. There are other ways to release stress. We can pray, we can meditate, we can get active. Those are other ways where we can relieve stress. And that's where we want to keep it going. So instead of utilizing the feedback loop in smoking cigarettes, we can utilize the feedback loop in praying, meditating, and being active. And just over and over again. Cue, craving, response, reward. That's what it's all about. And to go a little bit further into chapter 3, James Clear also speak on the 4 laws of behavior change and how the feedback loop is linked to that. And the 4 laws of behavior change involves how to create good habits and how to break bad habits. And how those 4 steps that I mentioned to you, how do they become a factor in regards to doing those 2 things? Now, when it comes to creating good habits, the first thing that we want to do, according to the author of the book Atomic Habits, James Clear, the first thing we want to do is make it obvious. And that is linked to the cue. It's all about ensuring yourself that you want to engage in this good habit, that you want to develop this new habit. You want to make it obvious. And the second thing you want to do in regards to the 4 laws of behavior change is to make it attractive. Make it look good. Make it look fancy. Make it look nice. That's where the craving comes in. We need a reason to crave that good habit. Make it look good. Make it look attractive. The third thing that we want to do in regards to creating good habits is to make it easy. And this is connected to the response part of the feedback loop. So instead of just going into this good habit and saying, hey, I want to do this good habit, this is what I want to do, so let's do it. The best way to make it easy is to create an action plan. Create an action plan. So don't just go into it with no idea and no plan as to what you're going to do to develop this new habit. Come up with a plan. That's the way to make it easy. And the fourth thing that we want to do in regards to creating a good habit is to make it satisfying. And this is connected to the reward part of the feedback loop. It has to be worthwhile. It has to be worthy. It's something that has to bring us fulfillment. It can't just be just a reward just to be getting a reward. Again, as I mentioned, we don't want to only attain it, but we want to sustain it as well. So make it worth our while. Ensure that it's bringing us fulfillment. So those are the 4 laws of behavior change in regards to creating good habits. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. Now, along with that, we want to create good habits. So with that, what do we have to do? We have to break the bad habits. And the 4 laws of behavior change comes in factor in regards to that too. So if we want to break our bad habits so we can create good habits, this is what we must do. Number 1, make it invisible. And that is connected to the cue. So what we want to do in order to make it invisible, we want to try to make it out of reach. My smokers, people who smoke cigarettes. In order for us to make it invisible, perhaps we shouldn't buy any more cigarettes. Perhaps we should throw away the cigarettes that are in our house, that are in our space. Take it a step further. You may want to distance yourself from other people who smoke cigarettes. Make it invisible. The second thing that we want to do is make it unattractive. And that is connected to the craving in regards to the feedback loop. Think about the negative results. If you smoke cigarettes, if you overconsume alcoholic beverages, think about what it does. Think about the negative results. Think about the downside of those particular bad habits. That's the way to make it unattractive. The third thing is to make it difficult, and that is connected to the response. Now, I'll use an example for people like myself. I'll admit, I'm about to shame the devil in a sense. I'll admit, I probably spend more time on social media than I should. So some things I've been thinking about over time is that what I'll probably do is, and I've done this already with some of the apps. I have deleted some of the apps off my phone when it comes to Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff. So this is my way of making it difficult in regards to spending more time on social media than I should and just focus on being more productive in the other areas that I desire to be better at. So that is just one example. Perhaps deleting apps off your phone that is connected to social media. That's a way to make it difficult. And the fourth thing that I want to talk about in regards to breaking bad habits is to make it unsatisfying. And that is connected to the reward. Think about your future. Think about 5, 10, 20 years from now, God willing. How it looks, how it's going to be, how your future is going to be if you keep engaging in these bad habits. The bad habits that you're doing right now. And I know it can be a challenge. I know it can be difficult to kick these habits. But something, if you put everything together, making it invisible, making it unattractive, making it difficult, and now we're talking about make it unsatisfying. If we think about down the road, how we look, how we may feel, where we're going to be in life if we keep engaging in these bad habits, that's a way to make it unsatisfying. So, once again, those are the 4 laws of behavior change. How to create good habits. We talked about that. Making it obvious, making it attractive, making it easy, make it satisfying. And in turn, we want to break those bad habits. And how we do that is we make it invisible, we make it unattractive, we make it difficult, and we make it unsatisfying. Peace and blessings to you as you continue your journey. So let me know what you think about this, y'all. So we just pretty much wrapped up chapter 3 of the book, Atomic Habits. One of the main discussions in that chapter was the feedback loop. We talked about that. We talk about, those 4 steps that it take to, develop new habits. We talked about the cue. We talked about the craving. We talked about the response. And we talked about the reward. Along with that, we discussed the 4 laws of behavior change. That's what we talked about. So with all of that being said, what is your takeaway? If you're reading the book Atomic Habits with me, what was your main takeaway from chapter 3? And in regards to this video, I hope that you have received some value. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know what resonated with you. What was your takeaway from this video in regards to chapter 3 of the book Atomic Habits as well? Feel free to leave a comment below. I would love to receive your feedback. I am Reggie B, aka the Growth Advocate, and once again, I appreciate you all tuning into this episode of the Growth Times Infinity podcast. And until the next time, keep growing and keep going.